All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're going to be geological detectives traveling way, way back in time to figure out our present. We're going to uncover how a kind of geological lottery played out millions of years ago ended up creating a handful of massive underground empires that, believe it or not, still call the shots in our world today. Let's dig in. It's a question you probably don't ask yourself at the gas station, but it's one of the most important questions for understanding our modern world. Why is so much of the planet's oil packed into just a few very specific spots? It might look random, but I promise you, it's anything but. It's the final chapter of an incredible geological story. And this quote just nails it, right? We're not talking about a few lucky strikes here and there. These are colossal geological vaults. I mean, these things have literally fueled the growth of the entire modern world. The scale is just mind-boggling, and their influence, even bigger. So, like I said, we're going to treat this whole thing like a detective story. The big mystery is, why is all the oil in these few places? The clues, well, they're buried deep underground and millions of years in the past. Our job is to piece it all together and figure out where this black gold really comes from. Okay, first things first, we need to be clear on what we're measuring. When we talk about the biggest oil fields, we're not just talking about how much space they take up on a map. The number that matters, the real gold standard, is URR, Ultimate Recoverable Reserves. Basically, it's the total amount of oil you can realistically expect to get out of the ground over the field's entire life. This is the true measure of a giant's power. All right, let's start the investigation. To find the source of these absolute behemoths, we have to go back in time, way back, to a world that would be completely unrecognizable to us. And our prime suspect, the key to this whole mystery, it isn't a person or a company, it's an entire ocean. And here it is, the Tethys Ocean. This was a massive body of water that existed between ancient continents hundreds of millions of years ago. It's long gone now, but it is the key to our whole story. As the continents shifted and this ocean slowly vanished, it left behind the absolute perfect set of geological conditions for creating and, crucially, for trapping unbelievable amounts of oil. So what was the Tethys' secret recipe? Well, it laid down these huge carbonate reservoirs. But here's the magic part. The rock it left behind had two key properties. First, high porosity, which just means it's full of tiny holes like a giant underground sponge, perfect for soaking up oil. Second, high permeability, which means all those little holes are really well connected so the oil can flow through it easily. It's that 1-2 punch that is so rare, and it's why the Middle East basically won the geological lottery. And this chart just shows you how different these giants really are. I mean, look at this. A modern shale play, you're lucky to get 5 to 15% of the oil out. One of these giant conventional fields, you're looking at 35 to 60%, sometimes even more. And the daily output, the lifespan, it's not even a fair comparison. These fields born from the Tethys, they're just a completely different animal. So, we've covered the how. We know the recipe. Now let's meet the giants themselves. This is the lineup of the colossal fields that are still, to this day, the absolute backbone of the world's energy supply, all thanks to that ancient, long-lost ocean. Let's kick things off with the undisputed king. Before I even tell you the name, just look at that number. An ultimate recoverable reserve of around 100 billion barrels of oil. That is a truly staggering amount, and it just dwarfs everything else on the entire planet. And here it is, Ghawar in Saudi Arabia. To give you a sense of its scale, it stretches for 280 kilometers. It is literally bigger than some countries. It was discovered way back in 1948, and for more than 70 years, it has been the single most important stabilizing force for the world's oil supply. And Ghawar isn't alone. Look at its peers. The daily production numbers here are just astronomical. Ghawar on its own is pushing out almost 4 million barrels a day. Bergen in Kuwait, Ramallah in Iraq. Each of these fields, all by itself, produces more oil than many entire nations. These are the absolute workhorses of the global economy. And this chart, wow. This makes the legacy of the Tethys Ocean crystal clear. 60%, 12 of the top 20 largest oil fields in the entire world are all concentrated right there, in the Middle East. That's not politics, that's not economics, that is a direct consequence of the ancient geology we've been talking about. The world's energy map was basically drawn hundreds of millions of years ago. But you know what? Geology is only half the story. These fields are old. Some of them have been pumping oil for over 70 years. So how on earth do they keep going? Well, that's where human ingenuity comes in. This isn't just about sticking a straw in the ground anymore. It's about incredibly sophisticated, high-tech engineering. See, operators like Saudi Aramco have become absolute masters of something called enhanced oil recovery. They do things like inject massive amounts of water and gas back into the reservoir just to keep the pressure up. It's kind of like reinflating a giant balloon. They use horizontal drilling to snake their way into tiny pockets of oil that were unreachable before. And now they're using smart wells with sensors and even AI to manage the whole operation in real time. It's a stunning technological achievement. And all that technology has totally changed the game. Decades ago, back in the 70s, everyone was predicting the imminent collapse of fields like Gawar. That was the assumption. But today, the reality is completely different. Technology has pushed those recovery factors from maybe 30% to over 60% in some places. They've turned predictions of collapse into decades more of stable, carefully managed production. So, what's the final verdict in our geological detective story? It's pretty simple, actually. The past is never really past. The deep, ancient geological history of our planet is still, right now, the primary author of our modern geopolitical and economic world. I mean, it's a really powerful thought, isn't it? The way energy is distributed, the way money flows around the globe, the balance of global power, you can trace so much of it back to the slow, patient work of geology. The world we're all living in today was quite literally written in stone hundreds of millions of years ago. And that brings us to the most important takeaway. These giant fields aren't just historical relics. They are living, breathing assets that are still the foundation of global energy security. We have to respect the giants. They built our modern world, and believe me, they are not done yet. And that leaves us with one final and really crucial question. We've seen how a geological lottery from millions of years ago completely defined our present. So the question for us now is, what blueprint are we creating today? If ancient geology shaped our world, how will the energy choices we make right now shape the next 100 years? It's definitely something to think about.